Hey y'all. Transition to telehealth, day 9. Wow. All right, what did I call it? I called it it being this. All right, still a little tired. Feeling a little better though. I hope you guys are. As a reminder, please watch the first episode. Is it an episode? No, what is it? I don't know. Webinar? Whatever. The first transition to telehealth. In the first 7 minutes, I give some context as to where this all came from. Today, I titled things Expand Your Search Terms. Why am I saying that? Well, on top of everything else, hopefully you noticed the report from the CDC came out on the increased prevalence numbers for individuals diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders. So unfortunately, as if we weren't already dealing with enough, we now know that it is 1 in 54. It used to be 1 in 59. So we officially are looking at an increased number of individuals in need during a time when we have increasing concerns about how best to deliver ABA services right now. So my concerns I've been clear on. My concerns are that we need to be, well, I'm not concerned that we're doing this. I am concerned that people are potentially not doing absolutely everything they can to protect the integrity of ABA service delivery. That is obviously a concern because if we have low integrity service delivery, we're likely going to get poor outcomes, and we need to continue to demonstrate high quality outcomes, not just to help those individuals that are producing those changes and feeling those changes and getting better and living a higher quality of life, but because that will influence future funding. And again, with the CDC report coming out, we now know that we need to protect that future funding now more than ever because there are more people that are going to need ABA services. So expand your search term. Why did I say that? I said that because some new concerns that I had this week were some statements that were made by people suggesting perhaps that there's not a strong evidence base to telehealth service delivery in ABA. Let's be clear. There is a lot of research to back ABA service delivery in a telehealth model. All right, I'm going to review a couple things real quick for you, but anyone can be searching right now, and so hopefully you're familiar with the main studies. My point isn't that. My point is you can't just search telehealth and ABA or telehealth and autism. There is a whole other line of literature that is technology-based that really needs to be considered under that umbrella, even if it wasn't labeled the term telehealth. And actually I thought of 2 of my studies in particular, and I pulled them up and I thought, how do we describe this? And I noticed, wow, there's no way anyone would think to look at this study right now, and it definitely supports the work that we're all transitioning or already doing in the telehealth model for ABA. So that's what I'm gonna do for you guys today. I'm gonna talk about expanding your search terms. My main point isn't to give you terms that you need to do your research. It's to get everyone to step back and say, hold on, what is the science that informs high quality ABA service delivery? What is the breadth of research that supports us providing services in this type of model? And boy, are we gonna need to make sure that we're all unbelievably clear on this research foundation, not only clear on it, but that we really know how to describe it. Because as we continue to engage with the payers, with the funding providers, with caregivers that are going to need us to up our game in terms of establishing their buy-in, because this is a whole different way for them to get services. Some people love it, some people not so much. So in order to be able to get their buy-in and of course get the continued funding, we need to be able to very, very clearly describe the evidence base to all of the work that we're doing. And it's not all just going to be found in telehealth and ABA or telehealth and autism or insert neurodevelopmental disorder here. That said, if you do the search, which you should have already, right, because you're a good scientist practitioner, that means you rely on researching what is available in our peer-reviewed journals to inform your practice. Do a quick search, guys. You'll find it real fast. 2016, Lindgren and Wacker did a very nice evaluation of traditional in-home ABA services compared to telehealth in-clinic and telehealth in-home, and they worked equally effective. And they made the point of saying that the lowest cost one was the telehealth in-home. And yes, that was focused on the treatment of problem behaviors, and that will be the main base that pops up for you. Wacker and colleagues have been doing excellent work in telehealth to assess and treat problem behaviors in the home setting for forever. It feels like, not forever, sorry, I didn't mean to age those guys that much, but for a very long time. So that'll pop up for you, and other studies will pop up for you, but here's where I'm concerned. If we leave it at just telehealth, we're missing a breadth of other research that came out. So for example, this little thing called video modeling, video feedback. I started thinking about this because at CABA, when we were initiating our transition to telehealth process, we decided to adapt and follow the CASP guidelines that have been released, so the Council for Autism Service Providers. I'll put a link in the description for this webinar, or it's not a webinar, whatever I'm calling this, Transition to Telehealth Day 9 thingy. I'll put in the description the link to the CASP guidelines. And what are those? Those are guidelines for organizations to follow in order to ensure that they are they're putting in all of the systems that are required to deliver the highest quality ABA services via a telehealth model. And they break it down very nicely. There's a really incredible checklist at the end that I highly recommend if you're in the process of transitioning to telehealth, that you look at these guidelines, because of course it starts with the importance of safety precautions, which who would have known that we would all be experts in safety precautions and essential businesses and medical necessity. And so anyway, we follow the CASP guidelines. If you look, you'll notice they describe things though in terms of asynchronous and synchronous telehealth delivery under the telemedicine umbrella. Synchronous being when you are on a live feed and you are interacting with someone on the other side of the screen, and that is synchronous, it is going on in real time. And they make clear that their guidelines are based on synchronous telehealth services because that has the strongest research base. They comment on asynchronous, which would be something other than what I just described, but still involving technology. And they didn't make a strong statement saying there's not research, but I looked at it and I thought, this is interesting that we're not stopping and saying what else falls in this category of asynchronous and synchronous for that matter that we're not thinking of outside of telehealth. So about 10 years ago, Higbee and colleagues, Dr. Tom Higbee is out of Utah, go Wolfpack. Not that Utah's Wolfpack, don't worry about that. And they've done some great work. I remember there was a study that they did, I think it was about 10 years ago, and it was on training staff members using video modeling to teach the staff members to appropriately teach adults, actually, with, I think, intellectual disabilities, problem-solving skills. So, whoa, that's a major topic, right? We're talking about teaching an adult effective problem-solving skills, kind of important, right? We're talking about using video modeling in order to teach the staff members to appropriately implement those steps. Anyone with me on how this sounds quite a bit like the services that we're delivering right now in a telehealth model? It doesn't talk about telehealth, it talks about video modeling. And it's a perfect example of a staff training study, right? That improved skills on behalf of the individuals that were receiving those improved implementation skills on the part of the staff member, all via a video modeling type thing. And that would be asynchronous, right? Because that is a staff member watching a video model on how to do something and then implementing it with an individual. But that's pretty important. It kind of falls under the staff training category, so it doesn't really get us an asynchronous. Whoa, sorry guys, it's the reality. Nice to know some people get to go outside and up high. In terms of asynchronous client-directed work, but there's a bunch of other video modeling work. Anyone heard of Dr. Charlotte, right? Charlotte Christie, now Charlotte, right? LeBlanc, these are names that are highly published in video modeling, and the majority of their work with young children diagnosed with autism and directly addressing a range of skills. And so it's not that this is telehealth, but it is the notion of using a video and that video improving performance on the part of the child, right? Or that video, as I said with the Higbee study, improving performance on the part of the staff member. So I just wanted to bring up this notion of video modeling, video feedback, and consider how to work that in both the synchronous and the asynchronous versions of what you're doing. The biggest study I thought of that I think is a perfect example of the power of asynchronous telehealth work is a study that one of my former students, now Dr. Megan Acklin, and I published, I think it just came out a couple years ago, so it would be under Acklin and Taylor, and it was teaching caregivers to effectively implement treatments for food selectivity demonstrated by their children. So in other words, hopefully most people know, individuals diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, there's an increased likelihood that we see issues associated with not just independent eating, but the range of foods that individuals are willing to eat. And treating food selectivity is significant and obviously very much aligned with the medical model, even though everything we do is. But of course, people can think kind of more quickly about it when we're talking about eating and sustenance and life that is needed by actually consuming food and a good range of foods. What did Dr. Ackland do? It was really cool. She did a range of things, but one part in the study that I think was the best part was when the parent was instructed to implement the program as had already been taught to them. And Dr. Ackland was like, you know what, I don't need to keep going out there to each session. Please just record yourself doing this for an hour and email me the recording. And then she would watch the recording that night and she would do, shocker, written feedback, right? Say, here's what you did great. I love how you did this, this, and this. Here are some areas that would benefit from improvement. When you did this, it would have been better to do this, and broke it down. Would send the email, caregiver would read it. Next day, caregiver would turn on the video camera, do another hour session, and then send the video back. And that went on, and guess what? It worked. That is classic asynchronous. I'm gonna start singing a police song in the middle of this for you guys. Oof. Telehealth, guys. That's what that study is. Here's the crazy part though. I was looking at it and I was like, oh my goodness. This doesn't say anything about the video part of this at all. Not in the abstract, not in the title. You would have to go down to the response measurement part, I think it was in that section, to see the fact that we were using a video. That wasn't highlighted. And actually on reflection, I kind of feel like I remember that, sorry, I just realized this is in your camera and it's not even anything I need. Sorry guys. I kind of realized that I think we might have actually highlighted that the first time we submitted the paper for publication, the fact that it was caregiver training and that it was done in this, sorry, I have papers running everywhere. I'm not even looking at anything. Hey, stay with me guys. That it was caregivers and that we had used video. And I'm fairly certain that in the review process, it was determined that it wasn't as important to highlight that. So it's in there, but you have to really read the whole study to even realize that it says caregiver training, so that's probably a good search term to immediately expand to, and then take a look. There might be technology that was being used in that caregiver training study. And if there was, you're now more familiar with not only the empirical evidence base to support caregiver training in ABA, but you are now in a better position to speak with relative fluency regarding caregiver training and the use of technology, which supports a telehealth model. One other study, I laugh, it was almost 20 years ago. It was me and Dr. Michelle Wallace. This was my master's thesis, and it was functional assessment and treatment of elopement. And elopement is running away from a caregiver without permission, not elopement as in getting married, okay? I have some expertise in that as well. The elopement was running away from a caregiver without permission. I'll make it quick. Same story, guys. If you don't read beyond the replication and extension title or beyond the abstract, which completely focuses on conducting a functional analysis for this type of problem behavior, which required us to do the study in a mall. And here's the part that's buried in there. Parents ran absolutely every session. And we used this amazing technology called a bug in the ear device. If you don't read deep into it, you're not going to see that that is yet another study that demonstrates the value associated with taking a technology-based approach to interacting with a caregiver to conduct both a functional behavioral assessment, an experimental one no less, in a mall. Not that we're going to malls right now, but you get my point. But also implement an effective treatment. So that was my point today, was interesting. Time to expand our search terms. Well, number one, time to make sure that everyone understands that there already is a very strong evidence base for telehealth and ABA. But number two, that we have a breadth of other research that likely is applicable here when it comes time for us to explain to people why it is that we are in a position to forge forward and continue to try and do everything that we can to provide the best possible services to those in need right now, which unfortunately, according to the CDC this week, is an increased number of people. So that's all I got for you today, guys. I hope it was helpful. I look forward to trying to push out some more this week. As usual, I really, really appreciate it if you could take a moment, like, subscribe. I can't believe I'm talking this way. Share it, please. that way, at least I know that it's important for me to continue to invest some time into putting these out there for everybody. And as always, I'm sending you my best and my cheesy reminder, but it's important. Got to make sure you're taking care of yourself. If we're not taking care of ourselves, guys, we definitely are not going to be in a position to help so many other people that need us. Sending my love and support, and look forward to talking to you again. Keep on transitioning. We can do this. We can do this. Thanks, everyone. Oh, that was awkward.